In February, else. A highway for the quietly desperate. Ships moving cargo that nobody wanted to talk about. Routes that appeared on no official manifest. Shipments that benefited people whose names appeared in no government records. The Ourang Medan was a Dutch-registered freighter, a modest vessel, unremarkable in almost every way. It traveled routes in this region that were common enough, connecting ports in Indonesia and the surrounding islands, carrying cargo between places that the wider world did not pay much attention to. We know very little about who owned the ship, even less about what it was carrying on that final voyage. That is not an accident. The name Ourang Medan itself is Malay. It translates simply as "man from Medan." Medan is a city in North Sumatra, Indonesia. The name of the ship is almost aggressively ordinary. It tells you nothing, which, when you consider what happened next, feels almost deliberate. The crew was a mix of nationalities, Dutch officers, a scattered collection of Indonesian and other Southeast Asian sailors. The kind of crew that asked few questions and expected few answers. The kind of crew that suited the kind of vessel the Ourang Medan appears to have been. In February of 1948, this ship was moving through the Strait of Malacca on a course that should have taken it to its next port without incident. It never arrived. The two ships that received the distress call were American merchant vessels. One of them, the Silver Star, was operated by a company with ties to U.S. government shipping contracts. The crew of the Silver Star was experienced. These were men who had sailed through some of the worst waters in the world. Men who had seen things. Men who were not easily rattled. When the Morse code signal came through, the radio operator on the Silver Star transcribed it carefully. He read it back. He read it again. All officers, including Captain, dead, lying in chart room and bridge. Possibly whole crew dead. There was something deeply wrong about the message, not just its content, but its delivery. Experienced radio operators communicate in a certain way. There is a rhythm, a discipline, a structure to how a trained sailor sends a distress signal. You give your position. You describe the nature of the emergency. You request a specific type of assistance. This signal did none of those things. It read like something dictated by a man who had lost the ability to think clearly. A man in shock so profound that the trained procedures had dissolved completely. A man sending words into the void, not because he expected them to save him, but because sending them was the only thing left he could do. And then, the gibberish. What came after those two clear sentences has never been satisfactorily explained. A stream of random signals, random letters, random numbers. The kind of transmission a machine makes when the hand controlling it has lost all intention. And then silence. The Silver Star changed course immediately. Using the partial position information embedded in the signal, even a fragmented distress call carries some location data, the crew calculated where the Ourang Medan should be and headed toward it. They found the ship within a matter of hours. It was drifting. No smoke from the engines. No movement on the deck. No response to the signals the Silver Star was sending. Just a vessel sitting still on the water as if it had simply decided to stop. The rescue crew prepared to board. The first men to board the Ourang Medan would later describe the experience in ways that are difficult to read even now. The ship was in perfect physical condition. No structural damage, no sign of collision, no indication that any mechanical failure had occurred. The hull was intact, the deck was undamaged, but the crew was dead, all of them. The captain was found on the bridge, exactly where the distress signal had said he would be. The officers were in the chart room, the sailors were scattered across the deck and in the engine room, wherever they had been when whatever happened to them happened. The rescue team moved through the ship slowly, carefully. The way you move through a space when something feels deeply, fundamentally wrong, and your body knows it before your mind does. Every man they found was dead, and every man they found was wearing the same expression. Their faces were frozen in what the rescue crew described as terror. Mouths open, eyes wide, staring upward, arms raised in some cases, as if defending against something. Bodies contorted in the postures of men who had died in the grip of something they could not fight or understand or escape. But there was not a single mark on them. No wounds, no bruising, no signs of violence of any kind. No indication of disease, no vomiting that might suggest poisoning. No burns. Nothing. Just dead men with terrified faces, scattered across a perfectly intact ship. There was a dog on board, a small dog, the kind sailors sometimes kept as a companion on long voyages. It was found near the stern of the ship. It was also dead. Its body was frozen in the same posture of fear that marked every human on board. Even the dog had died afraid. The rescue crew did not linger. They secured the ship for towing. They planned to bring the Ourang Medan to port, where investigators could examine it properly, where someone with the right knowledge could look at these bodies and these conditions and make sense of what had happened. That investigation never took place, because as the tow lines were being prepared, smoke began rising from the hold of the Ourang Medan. Within minutes, the smoke became fire. Within a short time after that, the fire became an explosion so violent that it lifted the ship partially out of the water. And then the Ourang Medan sank, taking everything, every body, every piece of cargo, every possible answer, down with it. What followed in the years and decades after the sinking of the Ourang Medan was a slow accumulation of theories. Some careful, some wild, all of them incomplete. The first and most persistent theory is chemical cargo. The Strait of Malacca in 1948 was not just a trade route. It was a conduit for the quiet movement of materials that the post-war world had generated in terrifying quantities. Chemicals, weapons components, substances that nations wanted gone but could not safely destroy on land. There is a serious and well-documented argument that the Ourang Medan was carrying something in its hold that it had no business carrying. Something that, if improperly stored, or if the containers were compromised in any way, could have released a gas, invisible, odorless, lethal at very low concentrations. Certain chemical agents, potassium cyanide, nitroglycerin, or a mixture of chemicals reacting together in an unventilated space, can kill quickly and completely. They can produce the kind of rapid, total death that the rescue crew found on that ship. They can cause facial muscles to lock in expressions of anguish. They can kill without leaving visible marks on the body. And, critically, they can ignite. A compromised chemical shipment in an enclosed hold, reacting with salt air and heat and whatever else was in proximity, could have killed the crew and then, hours later, ignited in the explosion. A sudden upwelling of methane gas could spread through the ventilation system with terrifying speed. The crew on deck might have inhaled a lethal dose in seconds. Those below would have had even less chance. Methane is also explosive, exactly the way the Ourang Medan exploded before it sank. The third theory is the one that serious researchers mention last, and usually with some reluctance, because it involves the possibility of deliberate action. The Ourang Medan, some investigators have argued, was not simply moving through the Strait of Malacca. It was moving something that certain parties wanted to ensure never reached its destination. Something valuable enough, or dangerous enough, that eliminating the crew and destroying the ship was preferable to allowing it to arrive. The war had ended 3 years earlier, but the war had produced extraordinary quantities of things that did not simply disappear when the fighting stopped. Chemical weapons, biological agents, quantities of refined substances whose origins and intended uses nobody wanted officially documented. The post-war Pacific was full of men and organizations moving these things quietly, for money, under flags of convenience, on ships exactly like the Ourang Medan. If someone boarded that ship, if someone introduced something into the air supply, or simply pumped gas into the hold, and then departed before the Silver Star arrived. The terrified faces, the perfect, intact hull, the convenient fire that destroyed everything before investigators could arrive. It would all fit. Here is what makes the Ourang Medan unique among maritime mysteries. Most mysteries leave too little evidence. A ship disappears, a crew vanishes, and the absence of information is what makes the story impossible to solve. The Ourang Medan leaves too much. There are multiple witnesses, multiple corroborating accounts, documents in the archives of several countries that reference the incident. not as rumor or legend, but as a real event that required official response. The Dutch government's records from the period contain references to the incident. American Maritime Authority logs from that year note the distress call and the subsequent sinking. This happened. The question is not whether it happened. The question is what happened. And that question has never been answered. The Lloyd's of London Shipping Registry, the most comprehensive record of maritime incidents in existence, has no formal entry for the Ourang Medan, which is remarkable, because Lloyd's records everything. A ship that size, sinking in those waters with a full crew dead aboard it. That should be in the record. Its absence from that record is itself a piece of evidence. Evidence that someone, at some level, decided this incident should not be formally documented. Which raises a question that is perhaps more disturbing than the mystery of how the crew died. Who had the authority to make that decision, and why? The Ourang Medan rests somewhere on the floor of the Strait of Malacca. Exactly where is unknown. The depth of the water in that area means that even if we knew the precise location, reaching it would require equipment. Ship grew old. Some of them gave interviews. Some of them refused to speak about it at all. The ones who refused are perhaps the most interesting. Because there is a particular kind of silence that comes from a man who saw something he cannot explain. A silence that is different from the silence of a man who simply has